Well, hello, this is Pamela Bird, your boundaries coach, and let's talk boundaries, shall we? What a wonderful time to get together and talk about the holidays. Let's think about it. We are in the holidays. This week is our Thanksgiving holiday, and there's a number of holidays that we're starting to celebrate, not just Christmas, not just Thanksgiving. There's Hanukkah, there's Kwanzaa, there's just all kinds of holidays that people are getting ready to celebrate. And it's actually a very festive season. So, as we get into this festive season, you may recall some seasons in the past that you were just so excited about it that things just didn't come out as well as you thought they would or as well as you had planned. So I thought, why not get together and share a number of holiday boundaries? Yes, that's right, boundaries that you can incorporate into your holiday season that are going to help to make your holiday stress free, not only during the holiday period, but even for the coming year. So, are you ready to talk about those 6 boundaries? Well, let's get started. Okay, so for the 6 holiday boundaries I want to talk to you about, I want you to make sure you take some notes on this because you're going to need to put these on your mirror, on your refrigerator, just something to remind you so that you can. And remember, your goal is to be stress free. You want a joyful, blessed holiday. And how can you have that? By making sure you're remembering and activating these 6 holiday boundaries. Number one, keep a close eye on your finances. Yeah, your finances are the one thing that can make or break your peace and your stress level over the holiday season. What's really important is that you create a budget for the holidays, and that budget includes the gifts that you're going to be giving to other people. How much are those gifts going to cost? The other thing is other types of entertainment that you're going to be doing. Do you have a budget for how much you're going to be spending over the holidays in the different categories? So let's say your gifts that you're gift giving, any gifts that you're going to be giving out, even food. What's your budget for food for the holidays? Be it for whether you're fixing it at home, whether you're taking meals to someone else's home, or you're going to be eating out over the holidays. Make sure you create a budget. Here's why: because so many times we get into this festive mood, we're all excited, we're happy, we're joyful, and we just start dishing out that money. And you know what? It is so easy when we're using our credit cards because you don't know exactly how much you're spending until the bill comes the following month. And that's one of the things I was going to talk about for the coming year. But just keep in mind, you want to be very set boundaries around your budget for the holidays so that you don't have to worry about and pay that price later in January and February. Okay. Identify everything you're going to be spending money on for the holidays. Put that down on a piece of paper and then identify how much money you want to include in that budget. Then, what I want you to do is, I want you to add that up at the very bottom for the total. Because when you come to that total, you can then look at the money that you have available and you can subtract the amount that you have identified from the amount that you have available. You are going to feel so much better once you do your budget. Now, if you've never done a budget before, just send me an email or leave me a note and let me know that you would like me to send you that budget sheet. Or you might be able to find a budget sheet online. But I find a budget sheet to be critical, so important when it comes to setting boundaries, because you got to know exactly how much you're working with, and so that you're not surprised at the end of the year or next year when that bill finally comes, or that credit card statement. And if you can, with that budget, why not get the cash out? leave the cash out, put it in a separate envelope for each area. Like, for instance, the gifts. Have one envelope for gift giving. You put that budget amount in that envelope and one for entertainment, and so on and so forth. This way you carry that with you when you know where you're going, and your limit is based on the amount that you have in that envelope. No cheating, no pulling out that debit card, that credit card, because you want to make sure that you are staying on budget with your finances for the holidays. And here's another tip. This is an extra bonus. We get to the point where we really want to give gifts to people, and it's in our heart to give gifts. But once you do that budget, you might see that, you know what, I don't have the finances that I really need in order to get the gifts that I really want to get for the people on my Christmas list or my holiday gift giving list. Can you be a little more creative in the gifts that you're giving? Let me give you an example. One of the things that we've done in the past for Thanksgiving, when the family was all together, is we would do, they call them different things in different parts of the country or different cultures, but a Kris Kringle, right? A Kris Kringle in my culture is we all put a name into a basket, right? And everyone there in the family chooses a name out of the basket, and whoever they choose is who they get a gift for that holiday season gift giving. That way you're not pressured to get a gift for everyone in the family. Another thing you can think about is also putting a cash limit on how much that person is to spend on each person whose name that they pull. I think that's a great way to do the holidays, and you can stay within budget because everyone's going to get a gift, but you're not breaking the bank and breaking your budget as far as getting too many gifts or having to feel obligated to get a gift for everyone. Doesn't that make sense? Oh, everybody gets a gift, and depending on the limit, the cash limit or the amount that you're putting, everyone should be able to get a gift that they really love. And another thing you can do, everyone, when they put their name on that piece of paper, also they can put a couple of wish list items that they'd like to get. That way they're not getting something that they really don't want and they really don't need, but they're getting something they themselves said that they would really like to have. It's a wish list. So think about those things when it comes to budgeting and your finances over the holiday season. Trust me, you're going to have so much peace when it comes to the first of the year because you didn't overspend and didn't go over your budget, and your finances are still intact. All right, that's number one of the boundary over the holidays. Number two is to stay in your lane. What do I mean by that? A lot of times, think back to when you were young and you would go over to your family's home, or maybe your grandparents, or maybe your aunt, uncle, whomever, and they start to ask you questions that you really don't want to answer those questions. Let me give you an example. You may go to someone's house that's familiar with you, but you haven't seen them in a long time. You may come single and they say, "What? You're not married yet? Or you don't have any kids yet?" What kind of things like that. Well, make sure you're not getting upset about that. Just make sure you set a boundary on how you're going to answer that question. So when I say stay in your lane, that's for the people that want to ask the people that come over their home that they haven't seen in a while, that you may want to ask that question, or any of the questions that are uncomfortable for that person. Please restrain from asking those questions, because if they wanted you to know, they tell you. Keep your conversations lighthearted, keep them festive, and keep them talking about positive things. And if they want to volunteer information, they will. But be careful that you are not prying. And some people older will say, "Well, I'm not prying. I'm just asking. I'm just inquiring." No, you're crossing boundaries when you ask uncomfortable questions to people. So make sure you stay in your lane. That's number two. And then number three, the boundary number three, is to pace yourself. We can get so frenzied over the holidays. We can get invited to a lot of different events. We can see that we want to take kids someplace, we want to go certain places. Make sure that you are pacing yourself. Pull out your calendar, look at the dates and on the calendar and see what type of events that you have going on. Make sure you put them in your calendar. It's great now is that our cell phones give us an opportunity to use our calendars to put our dates in, our the things that we're going to be doing. Well, make sure that you are looking at those dates and that you're not overbooking yourself. You don't want to overextend yourself, that you're too tired to do the things that you have committed to doing. The last thing you want to do, and this is a really important boundary, is that you don't commit to something that you cannot honor. Here's why. Because when you commit to going someplace with someone or doing something for someone, that person is counting on you to do that. And because you didn't take the time to pace yourself, you became overwhelmed, overextended, and now you have to back out or cancel or no show. That is just not a good, healthy boundary. So make sure you're looking at your calendar in the beginning and you're looking at the different invitations that you're receiving or the different events that you'd like to attend. It could be shows, it could be lighting, going someplace to look at the lights, the festive lights, whatever that is. Make sure you are not overextending yourself, not only for you, but for everyone else that's counting on you. All right, so that's number 3. Pace yourself. No one wants to be exhausted and full of stress over the holidays because then that ruins the purpose of the whole season, right? So make sure that you pace yourself. That's number 3. Now, number 4, know your limits. Number 4 pretty much goes along with number 1 and number 2, which are finances, your budget, and then staying in your lane. So basically, know your limits. That's what you're doing when you're looking at creating this budget. You're creating this, looking at exactly how much that you have to spend. Know your limits. Don't get out there and start spending money and you don't know what your limits are because you will regret it. And also staying in your lane. I talked about that, but your limits are knowing what you can say to someone and what you can't. Another thing that we do is we make sure that I love it because my daughter is having Thanksgiving this year, and there are two sides in the household for politics, right? And we know we just finished the presidential election, and she's putting a note on the door that there will be no political conversation whatsoever. Make sure you know what the climate that you're coming into. I think it's best that you don't have any political conversations whatsoever, because remember, this is a stress-free time, it's a joyful time, and it's a peaceful time. The last thing you want to do is to get into conflict conversations that are going to lead to unhappy endings, so to speak. We're not here to judge, we're not here to debate in any situations that we're in over the holidays. So just make sure you know your limits and you limit your conversations to only really good conversations and limit it to what people want to talk about. And here's another boundary. If someone starts to talk about something that insinuates something about politics or some snide comments, check it right away. Make sure you let them know this is not something we're going to do today. We can probably have that conversation at a later date, but you know what? Today, we're just going to have a happy time, a stress-free time. Nip it in the bud. Make sure that person knows that this is not a conversation that we're willing to have, and then give them a smile. And if you have to, just walk away. The last thing we want is drama over the holidays. And so make sure that all conversation or all comments that would invoke any type of high-level conversation, that it is nipped in the bud. Okay? With a smile. So those are 4. The next thing I want you to think about, avoiding conflict. A couple of the ones that I've given already are already good good formulas to follow when it comes to avoiding conflict. Oftentimes, if you're going to someone else's home, make sure that you are offering to help to do something. Make sure you're not just sitting there, because the last thing you want is to someone like the guest to feel like um, they're not being respected or they're not being appreciated for the work that they have put into celebrating and making you a part of that celebration. Even if that person does not want you to do anything, at least ask. That's it. At least ask. This helps to eliminate any conflict. And also another thing is, if there's someone in the house or in the area that you have had conflict with in the past, respect the home or the venue where you are by making sure that you leave that conflict where it was until you're able to handle it at another time. Let's be cordial. And I'm not saying being phony, but remember your place, and remember that we're not going to have any drama. We're not going to have any conflict, because what's the goal? The goal is to have a peaceful and a joyful and a festive holiday season. So put some of that stuff in the back burner. Don't even worry about it now. This is a happy time. This is not a time to deal with things that would cause conflict, that would cause any type of confrontation. If you have to leave the room and calm yourself down, talk to yourself in the mirror in the bathroom, whatever you have to do that so that you can have that peaceful holiday event that you're attending. All right. The next one is number 6. This one I love. Let me tell you why I love this one. Because every year as a journaling practitioner, I do what's called a year in review. What that year in review does is journaling, and I get a chance to go back and look over my journal entries over the past 12 months, and I get to look at how far I've come. Did I reach the goals that I set for myself at the beginning of the year? Throughout the year, I do what's called a month end review so I can stay intentional with my goals. A lot of times, if we don't document those things every month, then we tend to forget what we had planned on doing at the beginning of the year, the goals that we set for ourselves. Not only that, things happen. Things happen in life, distractions come up, and things change, and a lot of them are beyond our control. But we allow those things that are even out of our control to take us off course from the goals that we had set at the beginning of the year. So, doing a month in review is helpful to make sure you stay intentional and on course with your goals. But doing a year in review gives you an opportunity to look back over the last 12 months and see, where am I? What I've also noticed is that when I've done that at the end of the year, I have reminded myself of the accomplishments that I've had throughout the year. Oh, yeah, I may have identified some challenges that have prevented me from moving forward, but to even know the accomplishments that you've had, because those are the things that push you forward toward the goals that you have for the new year. So, completing a year in review by going over your past journal entries is a great way to start off for the new year. Then you can just relax over the holidays, knowing that you've got a plan for the coming year. Even if your goals did not come to fruition for this year, that's okay. You get a new opportunity to do over in the coming year. And here's another thing I just want to share as I end. You know, I woke up this morning. It's Sunday morning. I woke up, and usually I listen to church service. And I woke up and I said, you know what, Lord, I don't really want to listen to anybody else today but you. And so I just want to have a conversation with you, because sometimes, you can listen to church service and a lot of the pastors that are speaking, not all of them, but a lot of them are simply looking at being, their oratory skills and how much they can get the members to say wow or to say amen or whatever it is to really get people pumped up. You know what? That's great. It's good if you really need that inspiration. But today, the inspiration I needed was from God, completely from God. And so I had a conversation with him. And you know what? It's an interesting thing when you do that because you ask the questions that you can't get an answer from anyone else. And today I asked the Lord questions about why am I here? And this last one that I told you about, this last holiday boundary, is looking at where you are for the coming year. So to ask this question of the Lord, I was asking, why am I here? It really begs that question, and to really answer that question and to allow the Holy Spirit to guide you in helping you to understand why you're here. So as you consider this coming year, because this is something that came out of for me, and that is knowing why you're here, understanding that we were placed on this earth for a particular purpose. And there's people that aren't here anymore. And as we go through the holiday season, it's we think about those people that are no longer with us. But as we look at and remember that our loved ones that are no longer here with us on this earth, let's also consider why we are still here. What is the reason that we are still here? And I was listening to a song by CeCe Winans, and one of the comments she made was, God created Jesus, but God created us for Jesus to make Jesus happy and to bring him joy. So what are we doing in the coming year or with our lives while we're here on this earth? Because remember, we're only here temporarily. Everyone has a limit on the time that they're going to be here on this earth. So as you go through this holiday season, as you reflect on the coming year, it's a wonderful thing to consider. Why am I here? What is my purpose? What am I doing? And have I done the things that I was placed on this earth here to do? Am I even in the process of doing that? So you may go to work every day. You may come home. You may have dinner. You may spend time alone watching television or spend time with friends or even spend time with family. But is that really all that you're here for? And how do you know? One of the best ways to identify why you're here, if you're ever struggling with that, is to know the spiritual gifts that God has given you. Because whatever those gifts are, those gifts were given to you for a reason. They were given to you to share with other people. And a lot of times taking it back to that first holiday boundary, and that's our finances, and we create a budget. As you look at that budget and you stay within that budget, sometimes the gifts that you give are based on your own spiritual gifts. Gifts are not always about monetary gifts. They're not always about that. They're also about giving a piece of you, because giving comes from the heart. So if you identify what your spiritual gifts are, if you know what your spiritual gifts are, use that as a foundation for providing gifts to other people. I know one of my gifts is the gift of exhortation. And you can go online and you can find a spiritual gift inventory, spiritual gift assessments, quizzes, whatever they call them. And you can find out what your spiritual gifts are. And those are the gifts that God has given you to be able to share with other people. Because one thing I love is to share my gifts, because my spiritual gifts are something that I share that it doesn't cost me anything, but it does pay me back. It pays me back in the reward of joy and peace, knowing that I am making God proud using the gifts that he has given me. So think about your gifts, find out what your gifts are, and then find out how to incorporate them in being a blessing to other people in the coming year. One thing you're going to find out as you identify your spiritual gifts is that you've been using them all along. You just didn't realize that they were a blessing, and that you are being a blessing to other people when you use them. So the last thing I have to say is, don't hold your gifts to yourself. Share them with other people. So there you have it. You have 6 holiday boundaries that are going to be key for you over this holiday season and going into the coming year. I pray that this holiday season is a blessed holiday season for you, and that you are full of joy and peace and anticipation for all the things that are good, the good things that are going to happen this year. Just make sure you stay within your boundaries, the 6 boundaries that we just talked about. So, whatever holiday that you're celebrating this year, I wish you happy, wonderful, a loving holiday season, and definitely a wonderful gift using season for the new year. This is Pamela Bird, your boundaries coach, and let's talk boundaries, shall we?